This episode is sponsored by 12 Clean Pages, my memoir of surviving a life-threatening stroke, learning to walk and talk again, and entering God's purpose and mission for my life. If you're looking for an inspirational story that will help you enter God's purpose and mission for your life, you're going to want to read 12 Clean Pages. I promise you won't be able to put it down. When my niece was 3 years old, she had a splinter stuck in the palm of her hand, and she asked me for help. Part of the splinter was not too deep, and I thought I was going to pull it out quickly. But every time I came at her with the tweezers, she screamed and jerked away. Her tears were huge, and they dropped on my arms as I held her. She was afraid to let me touch her, so she pulled away because she didn't want any more pain. No amount of gentle talking could get those tweezers any closer to her. Finally, I distracted her, and then I quickly pulled the splinter out. But she still cried because it felt like a trick to her. So I let her cry in my arms. I didn't throw her on the ground and walk away. I didn't tell her to dry it up. I didn't warn her that she's going to feel even worse pain than a splinter when she grows up. I didn't tell her to get over it. I knew how much it hurt her in the moment, where she was. Even though it seemed like a small pain to me, it was big to her. I can remove a splinter from my own hand without worrying about it at all. But I based my compassion on her level of discomfort, not mine. So I just held her, rocking her back and forth. And then I covered the spot on her palm with a Band-Aid. I spoke to her gently. And even after her crying turned into quiet sniffles, she stayed in my arms, resting for a long time. It really took her a while to get over the shock and feel ready to get up and go on with her day and play. In that moment, I couldn't make my 3-year-old niece believe that the sting of the tweezers was actually kindness to her. So I just acted quickly and bandaged her wound. Everything I did was out of love, both the pain and the comfort. But my niece only understood the comfort. In the same way, everything God does in our lives is done out of love, even when we don't understand it. He doesn't tell us to just get over our pain, because he knows how much it hurts us where we are. When James 4:8 says, "Come near to God, and he will come near to you," the picture is one of comfort, not effort. God doesn't come near us as a reward. We don't earn his presence by coming near to him first. The truth is far simpler than that. See, a father can easily wrap his arms around a child who climbs into his lap. When I'm brokenhearted, if I draw near to God, he speaks gently. Most often, he does so through his written word. The Bible is his voice. His voice. You can't say, "Oh, I can't hear God," because it's in the Bible. And nothing heals like the sound of his voice. That's where you start getting used to what he sounds like. Sometimes it's so soft and gentle that we need the quiet stillness just to hear him whisper through his word. If we'll be still, we'll know that he's God. We'll know if we be still. I need this kind of awareness more than anything in my day-to-day life. So I set aside a time of stillness every day. I just want to give him room to wrap his arms around me. He comforts me, and I'm greatly helped. Like my niece after her splinter, sometimes I just need to be healed for a little while before I'm ready to get up and go on with everything. There's a picture of this in Hosea 6:1. As the prophet urges us to move toward healing. Come, he says, let us return to the Lord. He has torn us to pieces, but he will heal us. He has injured us, but he will bind up our wounds. Has the Lord torn us to pieces and injured us? That sounds strange at first, but he certainly is willing to wreck our expectations if it means pulling us off a path that is leading away from his best for us. It's far better for our temporary lives to be shaken if it means our eternal lives are saved. Every act of God is for our good and originates in love, even the acts of God that hurt. Even when he takes away the things we wanted or allows them to be taken away. God will bring us into his arms and heal us when, and only when, we actually turn our faces to him in response to pain. I turn my face to him when I've got a Bible in my lap. I sit in an old clawfoot chair in the corner of my bedroom. I bought it at Goodwill and had it reupholstered so long ago that the bold floral fabric has had time to go out of style and then come back in. I have a coffee ring on the arm. I've covered a rip with a flannel throw. That space could not be more modest, and it couldn't be more special either. I sit in that very unholy-looking chair, but something holy happens every day. Because there, my spiritual eyes adjust to the dark, and I can see hope everywhere. And hope is such a comfort. So later, when I go on with my day, I carry that comfort with me, and I share it with others. In 2 Corinthians 1, Paul writes, "All praise to God, the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. God is our merciful Father and the source of all comfort. He comforts us in all our troubles so that we can comfort others when they are troubled. We'll be able to give them the same comfort that God has given us. For the more we suffer for Christ, the more God will shower us with his comfort through Christ. Even when we are weighed down with troubles, it is for your comfort and salvation. For when we ourselves are comforted, we will certainly comfort you. Then you can patiently endure the same things we suffer. We are confident that as you share in our sufferings, you will also share in the comfort that God gives us." That's how we're supposed to be living. A person with a naturally strong heart often faces trouble and thinks, I can do this. I don't need any help. I'm fine. I'm just fine. There are times when I've caught myself thinking the same way. I'm naturally an exhorter. That's how God gifted me. And so I just keep going no matter what. And some people might say that this is a risky mindset because it can come across as denial. And when we deny that our wounds actually hurt, when we deny that we feel weak and deny that we need comfort, we keep God at a distance. In the same way that my niece kept me at a distance when I tried to help her with a splinter, sometimes we're doing that to God. But healing won't happen unless we let him come close. When I was in college, I took 8 weeks of writing courses in Harvard Summer School. It was my first visit to that historic institution. I didn't expect to see any biblical references tucked into the corners of the campus, but one discovery became a slow revelation to me. On my way to class each week, I passed Emerson Hall, the building that houses Harvard's philosophy department. The huge inscription above the doors and the columns reads, "What is man?" To me, it seemed like a fitting statement on top of a philosophy building. But one afternoon, I happened to look up at the exact moment that a strong wind blew. The branches of a tree shifted, and I saw that there was more to the inscription. The full inscription reads, "What is man that thou art mindful of him?" That's a verse from the Bible. It's King David's amazed question in Psalm 8:4. And it's the most fitting inscription for any building, because the only way to truly understand humanity is through God's eyes. We can't even see ourselves until we see ourselves the way he sees us, because we're not in control, but God is. So when trouble strikes, we're tempted to focus only on the first part, like I did with the inscription on the building. We are not in control. And then our fears hang like tree branches over the rest of it. Sure, I'm not in control. I'm not in control. I'm not in control. And the more we say that, the more afraid we become. If only we could walk in freedom instead of just pacing in circles inside those incomplete thoughts. No, we are not in control, but God is. That's the rest of it. Another part of the Harvard campus gave me chills. Harvard Yard is surrounded by brick walls and 25 gates. Each gate was donated by a graduating class in the past. The gates fascinated me with their designs and their inscriptions. One iron gate is especially beautiful. I took a picture of it, and to this day, it is the desktop wallpaper on my laptop. This gate was donated by the class of 1881. At the top of the gate is a cross surrounded by an iron wreath, and below it are the words of Jesus recorded in John 8:32. "And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free." But the irony is stunning, because that is the only gate around Harvard Yard that stays perpetually locked. In fact, it's been locked for years. The same is true of another gate just a few steps away. That gate was donated by the class of 1870. It stands near Holden Chapel, separating it from the dirty street traffic. People can admire Holden's beautiful robin egg blue pediment, but they can't get close because of the gate. Perhaps Harvard wants to protect that timeless beauty. Maybe it wants to hold the chapel sacred from the rabble. That makes sense. And the spiritual application is clear. Special places of worship remind us that God is holy, that he's set apart. But when we separate worship from the grittiness of our lives, then we're the ones that become imprisoned, because we lock ourselves away from the truth that actually would set us free. Listen, we can't go to church and then forget to take God home with us. Holiness came to a stable. He slept beside stinking animals. We don't have to try to keep Jesus clean. He had his own dark season, and he understands how much winter wounds hurt. So we don't have to jerk away when he reaches for us. We can let him touch the painful places. Jesus, the carpenter, is no stranger to dirt and blood and splinters. Over time, I have learned to allow Jesus into the hardest parts of my life. I've stopped pretending that I have it all together. When I was 12 years old, I was diagnosed with systemic lupus. And at 20 years old, I experienced a massive brainstem stroke that almost killed me. Through rehabilitation, I learned to walk and talk and live again. But I still live with disability every day. And some days hurt. And when they do, I admit it. A friend recently asked me, "Are you ever in pain. She's known me for about 12 years and we've been very close, but she said, you just never talk about pain. I used to think the Lord was disappointed in me when I didn't have enough faith to keep my own spirits up. So I have to discipline myself not to carry myself, because he loves to carry me through my darkest moments and he wants to be there. I can tell my friend when I'm in pain. It doesn't matter if we're soiled with shame and defeat. He can handle that. It doesn't matter if we're filthy with defensiveness and indifference. He begins with us exactly where we are so he can remake us from the ground up. There's still time for your healing. Look at me. There's still time for your healing. And there's still a way. But you're going to have to let him be faithful to you by letting him come closer. God doesn't want to stay in our lovely chapels. He wants to walk with us on our muddy streets.